thank you all for joining. I've thought, well, I've got the lunchtime slot for many people across kind of Europe and UK and a few other places. So I thought I'm going to try and do something a bit more fun, a bit more interesting. Some people may well have come and seen some of my talks before, and you might soon quickly realize that I like going outside the box a little bit, doing something that's a bit more engaging. I promise there is no PowerPoints of death here. Absolutely promise that. And I've kind of wanted to look at this from a different angle. And I'll do my full intros in a second. And this is where technology will always come to challenge you at the last minute. So kind of welcome to my presentation. And kind of what I want to go through today is like the really big buzz of where AI and ML and things are coming in and new processes are coming to challenge what we do day in, day out. And how do we embed those without disrupting things to a point where it could become detrimental? I've seen this myself. I've actually gone through some projects where actually involving some of these systems has actually had a negative effect on my team and my business. And how do we start to think about these things a bit differently? And it's going to be typical that my mouse is not going to click, but there we go. So me, I'm Gareth Edwards. I believe it or not, I'm actually an ex-Runecaster. Absolutely love working for the company. But over the period of my tenure with them, a well-known IT company called VMware came along. It's always been a dream of mine to work for them, and they gave me a solution engineering role. So day by day, I sit here and I help kind of extract business value to technology and help people align that and how they can make their environments better, how we can secure them, and all the shiny stuff there if you know how VMware works. And kind of, as I joke by night, I blog on my blog, Virtualized Fruit. I go to many different events. I help out with the V community. I'm a V Expert Pro, so I help people engage in that program. And I also assist with the London UK VMUG chapters. So, I love kind of running these events. And it's great having another team running this, and I can just kind of come along and talk to you all. I am trying to keep half an eye on the chat, so apologies if I'm looking away at points, because I do encourage you to ask questions or even challenge me. And that's kind of the bit here. Where does the security twist come in? My background before going through this massive journey is I've been a customer from kind of the VMware ESXi 3 days and Citrix MetaFrame, and slowly kind of evolved my career from being that kind of infrastructure guy to the storage guy to the networking, and somehow fell into the world of auditing. Worked for several different customers, helping them through these journeys. Worked for managed service providers. And for some reason, security has always come back around to me because it's always been one of those things I think I understand, or I've had that natural ability to try and decipher or demystify some of these things that, how do we communicate these things to the team? How do we communicate this to the board? And how does this help us evolve as a business, or definitely even protect us as a business? I've just done this slide. As you can guess, I just like making things colorful and pretty, but there is always kind of three bits that always jump out is like physical security. That these are easy things that you can try and secure down, such as your physical door access, maybe locking things away in a drawer, maybe having a big security gate. It's great. It's only great up until the point someone might leave it open and people can get in. So then what's our next line of defense? Is this kind of hardware? Is it, laptops locked down to the desk? If we've got firewalls that are monitoring traffic, is there CCTV watching people come in and out? And how do we kind of look, how do we keep those things maintained? To even like the other side of it, the software. Do we have antivirus on our laptops, making sure that we're not receiving malicious software? Do we encrypt those laptops in case something gets lost? To even things like data loss prevention. So, have we got a set of tools there that can help stop data getting leaked out that shouldn't get leaked out? If maybe you see a credit card number in an email, it obscurifies that out or just alerts users going, are you sure you want to do this? So, there's all these kind of things where we just got to kind of start looking at our different lines of defense. And where I kind of ironically come to this is, the human element, kind of what this whole presentation is kind of about, and how does that human element fit in everywhere? We all joke about it. You can't forget to train your staff. I would love to put a poll out on here, and this is where I'd love to see some of the chat going on. When was the last time you did some phishing training? I'm sure it's probably recently. Everyone has to go through this, and that is the key thing is you can spend all this money and effort and everything on all these really clever systems. And whenever I've been involved in any kind of breaches or security recommendations, the thing at the end is it can be the most powerful and also the most weakest point is the human. If they don't know how to look out for certain things, that's where things can go wrong. We've probably all heard about, hovering over links, seeing, does that URL look right? What to click on, what not to click on. As a kind of a species, we learn what's good and bad, and it's exactly the same with that with overall technology. Is we need to kind of, if as an IT department, can we give users more training? Is it opening emails? Are you looking at certain things? Maybe door might be open or things like that. It's just bits like that where we're just going to kind of help our end users to the best of their ability, but also sometimes we're too busy to do that. So how can we use tools such as things like Runecast to free up more space, in our diary? Can we do stuff that's, when was the last time you went through all your logs? It's a very laborious process. Jason's just put a great bit there. Training and education will always be key, but it can, actually, there we go. Great question here. What tools and trainings would you recommend? My best one, and by far, is dare I say immersive training. I've done this with businesses. When I was a security auditor, sometimes I would just do a dry run event. I may well not be known in that building, and somehow I got into that building and sat in the lobby for a good 20 minutes before anyone realized why I was there. There are some really, really great tools out there. I believe Sophos did a really good one when I was a customer. That sent out kind of simulated phishing training, and it looked really good, to the point where even I questioned, is this legitimate? It would come into the inbox, it would actually pick your manager's name and drop something in your inbox saying, oh, I really need you to do this task, and add some urgency to it. Because that is the biggest thing, is say to your users, is always question the urgency. If there's an unknown urgency on it, maybe verify that task. That is the biggest simple thing here. Is you said that tools and training, the biggest training I can give to anyone is always question it. If you're not sure, you received an email from someone you're not quite sure, or from a supplier, do something simple. Don't reply to that email, but maybe pick up the phone. Use a different method to verify that task is actually genuine. I'm I want to feel old school now. I think sometimes we rely a lot on technology and we miss that human interaction. What is the harm in picking up a telephone and phoning someone, or using Teams? Maybe if you've got email, maybe just quickly Teams call someone and say, look, I've just had this land in my inbox. Is that right? Because at the end of the day, if they go, what do you mean? Raise your suspicions, and maybe then very quickly send that off to your InfoSec team. Go, I think something odd is going on here. But honestly, I believe it's Laurie asked that question. I will try and get some other tools that I can recommend that I've used in the past in some of the resources. That's absolutely no problem whatsoever. Kind of one thing I wanted to go on, I kind of joke this is the tale of two sides, is I was involved in a project where the example here was something called UiPath. We had a finance department, a rather large finance department, and unfortunately with the way the world was going during certain pandemics, that department had to shrink, and we had to come up with a way of, it was a hard project for me because the human element side of me is I didn't want to make anyone redundant or take their ability away. And this is the one where I always kind of started to fight with myself a little bit, is, how do you use these tools to enhance a process, but also not make it detrimental? It goes back to my previous point there, is a software can only do so much. So in this instance, we had a department that's processing tens, if not hundreds of thousands of invoices per week. And, we basically used this software and trained it to do what they did. So it would receive an invoice in an inbox, open that email, grab the attachment, do certain checks on the attachment, and kind of move on with it. And the end point of this is some of this was actually processing payments. And this was a really interesting one to me, is because when we teach people, this is probably the biggest department that gets the biggest phishing attacks or suspicious attachments. And we always teach these people, don't open a link if it looks like this, or if this looks suspicious, maybe not open the link and send that straight off to infosec. And this is one interesting thing where we saw a spike in emails that were malicious, because what was happening is it was coming in and actually opening those to actually enhance the risk to our business, didn't shrink it, because that human element is now gone. The software only looks at it and goes, has this got an attachment? Yes. I'm going to open that attachment because I have no other thought into, I'm going to go off and check that link or do this or that. Because if it's come past our spam filter, as far as it is concerned, everything is okay. And this was the thing that then kind of shocked me a bit, where I thought, how did I miss this? Why, we teach all our staff this. How did we miss that real simple element of, that human element? If an email comes in and looks weird, we might not open that. Whereas this tool now, just as long as there's that email in the inbox, it opens it. It services that action. And that was the really intriguing thing for me as well. When I kind of started digging into this more, is we only gave it certain parameters and guidelines. Imagine this is, luckily it didn't happen to us, is, we did add some further steps further down the line. But if a business had used this wholesale of just pick that up, process it on the system and pay that straight out, there was that final person checking it, which then did add them, ironically, some more workload. But say, for instance, someone's they're a box shipping company. That's all they do. Invoices come in, the system is on, pays out that thing. If it then sees an invoice for maybe 1,000 cupcakes, and as long as it sees a sort code and account number, as far as the system is concerned at that point when it's processing it, it's met all its criteria. It has a line item, it has a pay, and it might just action that. And that is the biggest fear for me, is like, how far, where these AIs may not, it doesn't really care. It's just given a set of parameters. And how do you train it to say, well, actually, I'm a box company and I don't do anything to do with cupcakes? These are the things we've got to be aware of when we're starting to use these tools. As a human, we'd question that. Whereas this system, it's just got guardrails. And as long as it's all passed, more dangerous things could happen. Sorry, I just got distracted by a question. So how can we effectively train the staff? Staff training approach is not easy. And Jason just put there, the oldest challenge is getting humans to take threats seriously. Maybe you guys might disagree with my way here, is I always make security training or try and make it fun. Like this, I just do something different. Everyone hates doing it. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't always like receiving it. So make it interesting. Role play scenarios are great. Don't do PowerPoints. That is by far the worst thing. No one wants to do that. I don't think, no one enjoys too long of PowerPoints, but make it more challenging, make it fun. Get into a room, make up some scenarios that are relevant to your business, and feel free after this to maybe ping me an email. I'm quite happy to kind of help people explore different ways of doing it. If you are a IT managed service, maybe think of, a great one I did once with that is, it's going to sound a bit extreme, but we pulled the fire alarm and watch how many people left doors open. And it's taking away that learning initiative. Is at the end, don't say to everyone, you did it wrong. Just go, guys, maybe we could have done this better. You said that is the hardest challenge. Everyone thinks they're getting told off. Take this as a thing, is say to everyone, it's a learning opportunity to help you better at your role and help protect your role and also protect the company. I take stuff to the extreme. Sometimes when I've had to do this role, is I've just gone and snuck in looking like someone else. But maybe do things like that. Try and use that shock element. By far, that is what I've seen the biggest things. Do those shocks, get those statistics, find out where something's going wrong, and also make people feel that they can come to the security department or you, if you're the person championing this, that actually you can be completely open and impartial. Say to someone, well, actually, if you see something as this, raise it, because there is no answer that is a wrong answer. I have this when I've done ISO certification with people. They say, oh, well, if I fail this or fail that and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, we need to change that mentality of failure is not a bad thing. If anything, change that mentality that failure is a learning opportunity. I did it with one company. They're failing their backups, really worried they're going to fail a thing. I went, no, okay, look at this a different way. Okay, backups are failing. It's not great, but what we have now done is we now implemented X, Y, Z, started to do these things, changed our processes. We've also then enhanced the process to do these additional checks. Backups are now actually completing. Actually document that, because that is a really great thing to show an auditor, because sometimes auditors don't like everything being pretty and perfect. If you can show how you have evolved, that is actually a much better place to be in. It's the same with your staff. If they go, well, hang on, someone's leaving, it's been, again, another great example here, it's been really hot here in the UK. Someone's leaving windows and doors open. Just say to people, just do a little check at the end of the day. We're not telling anyone off, but just be mindful if everyone's out the department and the door at the back is open, just say, could you maybe request a fan? Just don't make it feel that they're going to get bullied, or they're going to have any repercussions if they come to people like yourself. If you're in the security team or in the IT team, maybe they want to try another bit of software. Encourage, say to people, encourage it in the fact that we're not, we're doing this. Our policy is Y, that we shouldn't be installing new stuff, but please do make new requests. And, we're not going to always say no. If, I wouldn't have used some of the software that I had if I hadn't challenged the norm. Hopefully that answers some of the questions, and apologies if I've digressed off massively. And again, I'm going to use another example here, is the crowd is coming. I very recently went to an event, and they've actually replaced a lot of the security staff with cameras. And this again was a really interesting bit for me as this kind of a security. I was like, wow, what's going on here? Would you just leave a security camera at your front door of your office saying if people can come in or not? How far would you go? The cameras I have here at home, many people might even have some of the doorbells. They can now do package detection or human detection, but that is as far as it goes at present. Would you trust, as long as there's a human in maybe, say, a red shirt, they're allowed in the building, open the door, off we go. That doesn't stop that pretty much that means anyone in a red shirt can come along. Goes back to my point of, how does CCTV maybe spot a bad actor? It can. It has no other thing around that. As humans, we, maybe that security guard, I sometimes joke the security guards and the janitors are the best security thing in the entire business, because they literally nearly know everyone. That security guy sees everyone come in, go out. It's probably the same with the janitor and a few of the other staff. They always see those same people come in and out. And, they also understand emotion. If someone's acting a bit differently, I come in maybe a little bit more shifty, they've got their head down on that day. I come in, down like this. They would recognize something like that. The camera probably wouldn't. Whereas if you've maybe been disgruntled and something's going on, it's one of those things where they would then probably intervene, whereas a security camera or an MI or AI model wouldn't. It would just see me still. It would go, oh, that's Gareth. I recognize that person. He's walked through the door. Great. I'll sign him in. Whereas a security guard might stop me and go, you feeling okay? And it's just that little bit of human interaction that might be the difference between me having a good day and a bad day. So there's a positive benefit to the business as well. But if I'm a bad actor and I'm about to do something wrong, they can then maybe flag that to another team going, actually, walked in saying it wasn't his normal self. They can understand that. But on the other side, is you've got these massive crowds at a concert I was at. It's really hard to look at everyone. There's one particular concert I was going to. There was, I'd probably say, several hundred people coming through this entrance, and that is where I personally think then AI and ML can work in its assist those humans. Is they are looking for everything, but again, we're all open to change fatigue. We're all looking, after a while, your brain may not spot something. And ironically, I put my hands up, I got caught. I left a pack of biscuits in my pocket because I was out in the city for the day. Hadn't thought, this is a very specific venue where you can take no food in whatsoever. I genuinely forgot, walked up to the gates, and this is where the human failed, but the AI kind of caught me out. I still to this day do not know how it did it, but it must have been the way my jacket was kind of sitting or something, and it flagged me as actually having to be checked. I walked past all the people, and as I got to the next bit, that final few humans of barrier, they said, could I just come to one side? Your genuine panic sets in. I think, oh gosh, what have I done? And it, not even half pack of his back, this big, was in my pocket, and it had somehow picked up. I forgot it was in there. It was behind all the kind of train tickets and my wallet and everything in there, and it picked that up. And that's what I thought was really, really interesting. I was like, that is where AI and ML then aided the human and made them better and actually stopped something. And this goes back to my thing where I think we need to work in harmony with things. We always need that human because they will spot those differences, but can we direct those differences? And that is my learning for some of this, as I'll start wrapping up in some of these slides, is, you know, I'll actually go on to it now, is the kind of working together. How do we address that missing connection? Is, you know, when you start looking at products, the thing I can now question is, what integrations do these products have? It's great that they do all these things, but is how is it making that end user more efficient? You know, I said, do go check out the guys at Runecast. Brilliant product, what it does, and that's why, you know, I joined the company. Is it made me more efficient as a system engineer? It would recommend changes, but always understand that actually another platform may recommend a different change, or, you know, it's how do these things start talking to one another and act on those changes. You know, one of my examples that I've put in here is a storage array. A very well-known one had a brilliant platform that would say, oh, maybe tweak this, do that, etc., etc. But maybe the hypervisor platform or the backup platform may say, well, actually, you need to do this. If they're not aware of each other, you're going to start getting a lot of false alarms. One's going to say, turn this knob here. One's going to say, turn that knob there. And you're going to constantly get into this whole tweaking. But actually, if the two were aware of each other, and actually I saw this even in the last 2 weeks, another backup product has come to the market that's partnered with someone like Microsoft. So now, as things are changing in their platform and the backup things are changing, if one of them makes an automated change, it alerts the other one to kind of not flag an alert. And this is, again, where I think these tools really start coming to their own. I actually was listening to the end of the last conversation about how we're using native tools instead. And that is the thing, is we understand the norm. And that's what these tools should be doing, is picking out something that's different, or helping us, assist us to go, oh, that's not normal. For actually, for the last 10 weeks, this has always done the same thing, but on this day, something has changed, or this user has suddenly gone from logging in their emails from London to Tokyo. That's odd. Those are the things that it should be highlighting and helping us abstract those things rather than line by line trying to find them. You know, we, as humans, we are better at doing that, but how does it start highlighting these changes? You know, personally, that's kind of where I felt with a lot of these things, is how do we start looking at these things in a different light? Do I start challenging? You know, I'm even doing it myself in the products that I work with, is how do these things integrate? How do these things help benefit the user? Maybe even ask them, what do you have now that, you know, there may well be some conflict, and how do we resolve that conflict? Because at the end of the day, users need to be more efficient. How do we make this more secure? That's what this whole day is about, is, you know, and again, if you've got those other teams, start having that open collaboration. I'm gonna kind of harp back on is, you know, how do we make, you know, take these threats seriously? Don't use the punishment technique. And if you do kind of see that, you know, maybe you're a system admin and I'm not, you know, one of the other teams is doing something, saying, oh, we should do it this way, is all sit together and try and come up with a holistic approach. Is coming in the fact that you can all be sat there as those trusted advisors that actually no answer is a wrong answer. Everything will be taken as a learning. And, you know, there's some really big things that I actually kind of see on the horizon, which actually scare me more than any of this that we've really spoken about today. Is technological threats. Is, you know, we always joke about the emails, and one that really came out in a great conversation this week was you've probably seen those deepfakes, and unfortunately those deepfakes might have bad connotations and, you know, replace faces and everything. But the interesting thing with a video is as a human, we can see something's wrong. We can see something's not quite right. That face might not quite fit. And don't get me wrong, they are looking very good. I've had someone where they've done some with I believe some of the presidencies, they've kind of swapped the faces, and it was like, oh, that's really interesting. And they've even changed certain bits. But actually, the thing that, to me, that scares me more is actually I've seen a deep face with a real-time voice. And you can probably say, why does this scare you more? Actually, pre-recorded voices is threat actors can't pivot when you're talking to them. Whereas now I've actually seen this specific system, even with something as little as 8 hours worth of someone's voice, it can be even less, and an hour's worth of training, you can do a real-time, I can be speaking to this microphone and very instantly change my voice. So it goes back to my point of view, ironically what I said earlier, go find another way to you follow up? But maybe what happens if these bad actors are sending an email and within 15 minutes they're then phoning that person saying, oh, have you got my email? As a human, where we don't have all those connections, we can't now see that person, but the voice is, those two things are something I does feel is a new threat to me. And do we see this going out in the world? I honestly don't know. And that maybe I'll be talking about this with these, with Runecast hopefully again at some point. I'm actually working on a demo for this now of changing my voice real time, and could I use that to trick someone? Could I make myself sound like a famous actor, or could I make my, in this real world example, could I make myself sound like my chief finance officer or my security officer and say, oh, could you make this change? It is quite concerning that these technologies are there and it could do stuff and people can pivot. And it goes into my whole point about bad actors underneath is, especially in my role now, day to day, I'm seeing the biggest scary thing is ransomware as a service. But this isn't, we broadly use that brush bad actor, but that bad actor could be a disgruntled worker or someone who's been recently let go, and they can, for very small amounts, go on and buy this ransomware as a service because they're giving the other people an access in maybe a door that they weren't aware of. And actually now, ransomware isn't all just about encrypting that data. That's only one element of it. And something I was kind of going through with a colleague is actually now encryption is one thing, but the thing they now do is they actually extract that data, decrypt it themselves, and use that as ransom instead. They actually then use that to extort you. They might have some personal identifiable information in that if they release it, actually paying the ransom is one thing, but if they can cause reputational damage, that is a bigger impact. It is more likely to make the business go under, and that will more likely make them pay both types of the demands. It's like, here's a fee for unlocking your data, but here's another fee for maybe us not releasing something that could cause a massive impact to your business. Hopefully, I'm not trying to scare anyone off here, but it's those things, is start thinking of things in a different way. There's unfortunately some unsavory people out there, but at the end of the day, they're trying to make some money. You see all these scam call center videos and everything. They're starting to use these technologies to extract it, and that is the thing. ML and AI can also be used to actually enact on these things quicker. The quicker we plug a hole, if they're using these tools, their tools can fight against ours and very quickly find another way in. So as quickly as we can do something, they can do it just as quick. And that is another thing I'd say take away today is, as these tools progress, humans are great. And don't get me wrong, that is the whole takeaway of this, is humans are your best way of stopping all these security intrusions, and with their training and telling them there can be a motive and say when things are wrong. There is going to be a point where actually technology can do stuff so fast we can't react, and we need to start bringing these two together. As those tools very quickly highlight something weird is going on here, we can then take a look at it and holistically go, actually that is wrong, there is nothing I can see why it is doing that, and start making our environment safer. There's so many ways now security threats are coming out, and that's why I love tools such as things like Runecast is where it can pick up on things. Very simple. Again, the company I work for, not doing this as my own talk today, people don't utilize tools such as Skyline, where it can alert you that maybe something's slight, we're seeing all this usage data and you can do something slightly differently. Use these tools to your advantage, help them enhance your day, help them enhance your business. And always, my other last takeaway is probably going to be like, don't make people feel afraid to come to you. At the end of the day, make that connection. We're all human at the end of the day, and make people feel that they're not going to have any repercussions because they might be highlighting something. Actually, those are the best times when actually that's where these ransomwares can sit dormant because someone has opened something and too afraid to come forward. Make people feel that actually it's fine. For an example is my kids now go, actually, Daddy, I've seen this. Can I install this on my computer? It doesn't look quite right. They've now learned, rather than just doing it, if they feel uneasy, I'm not going to shout at them. I quite have to, great, let's sit down, let's understand it, let's have a little bit more of a look. It's all great. Probably many of you might have kids playing Minecraft, and now they go, well, actually, is that right? It's not, maybe not quite from an official place. Maybe I should just check. And that's the kind of thing we should have. Is it's not, there is no harm in checking. It's not going to really, it will probably create less workload from just a very simple check. I've probably gone way too fast, actually. Actually, I've come to my last slide. So those are my contact details on the screen. And I'm just going to kind of open it back up to the chat there. And apologies for actually going too quick. I just appreciate many people would be eating their lunch. And unfortunately, sometimes I can go down a rabbit hole with these things. But honestly, change, is that the biggest thing is change the way you view security. Take it away as learning practices. No answer is wrong. Gary's made a point here is failing is not a bad thing. If genuinely the only thing you take away from this today is don't see failure as a bad thing. See it as a learning opportunity. Remind ourselves how we can grow from this. It's in our nature as humans. We can only learn to walk by failing. We can only learn to speak by failing, and that's how we grow. And that's how we've grown as a species, to never see things like security as something's gone wrong. Actually, yes, it is horrendous. We're probably in a war room at 2 a.m. in the morning. We're all tired. We're all grumpy. But when you come out and go, what did I learn from this? Was it because someone left a door open? Is it because someone clicked on their link? Is it because we didn't patch system 1, 2, or 3? These things happen, But yeah, I will kind of stay on for a couple of minutes. If anyone's got any questions in chat, I will try and also have a quick look for some of those tools and pop them in the chat as well. And thank you for your time.